Edward, you're on live.
Yes. All right. Welcome to Prerona Television Canada. We are very happy that we are continuing our regular weekly leadership speaker series. And today we are very happy that we are having episode 20. And our topic today is holistic leadership. As many of you know that it is very one of those very important topics on leadership is holistic leaderships. And we are very happy that we are having our speaker, regular speaker, trainer, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, and he is a CEO of IITM, and then he is also an adjunct faculty professor of uh, IUB, Independent University of Bangladesh. Uh, Thank you very much, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, for being with us and also continuing um, your session training. Uh, through your training, we're very blessed and we're very happy. So I now welcome Advocate Jiaur Rahman to continue. Just to let you know, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, we are expecting few guests. They might come in between, so they have some credentials. Some of them are having from Canada. They might join with us from the university, and also we're expecting one professor from Bangladesh, and also we made few might join later. So what we're expecting, if you present in 45 minutes or in 15 minutes, they might ask questions. So I hope that they will join. I actually send them the link and hopefully they will join in time. You can continue your session and I give you an access of the as a host so you can share your screen, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edward,
And just
for
sorry,
being
just
on.
to let you know, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, if in case some of them are joined, so I'll make them sure I will let them know. So we don't need to interrupt. You can continue your session. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying hello to everyone. And today's session is on holistic leadership, and I'm trying to bring out the slides. Just give me a few seconds so I can bring out the slide. Just okay. Can you see my slides? Um, can you see the slide?
Oh, sorry. I was in mute. So you
Can
can
you see?
stop the slide sharing and start all over again.
So let me stop the slide sharing.
Yes, and then start all over again. That will
Okay,
be.
let me just come back into the slide.
And I welcome Anika Satiprabha. Thank you very much for joining with us.
Thank you
He
very
has a
much.
teaching experience in Bangladesh, and he has currently finished his postgraduate program yet here in Alberta, in Canada.
Okay,
So we are
okay,
very happy
fantastic,
that you're with
fantastic.
us.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can
All right,
see the
fantastic.
slides, so you can do the
Okay,
full
let me
screen. Thank
proceed.
you.
Thank you very much for being here with us. Those of you who are listening in on Facebook, today's session is on holistic leadership. And without further ado, let me jump into my presentation. So normally I start off with a normally I start off with the definition of any of the issues which is pertaining to leadership. So here is the first definition. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. I will come back to the definition. Let me move to the next definition. The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. And the last one is the growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership. So let me come back to the first one. Leaders become great because not because of their power, but because of the ability to empower others. So the whole point of a good leader is to be able to bring others on board and give them the tools to become leaders themselves. So this is essential for any person who is actually considering to turn himself or herself into leaders into a leadership position. So this is by John Maxwell. The next one is by Jiddu Krishnamurti, and it says the ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. And here, this person is talking about being intelligent in the sense that if you want to be a good leader, you have to be able to observe things without actually evaluating. So, without being judgmental, you're actually observing. And this is a very tricky issue. So, if you are a leader, at times you are observing things, but you're not evaluating. So, you have to take a dispassionate position from the things that are taking place. Because if you are evaluating right away, then maybe you may not get to the right evaluation. So a significant part may be on the on observing things and how things are working out in on the ground, and then you can do your evaluation process. So this is an interesting way of looking at leadership. The the other one is the growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership. And this is absolutely a true statement in the sense that a good leader is always wanting others to actually achieve success. A good leader's goal is to actually engage others so that they become more effective and more efficient in their own personal domain. So eventually they can actually rise up and take on leadership positions. So the entire process of a good leader is to allow people to connect to their own strength areas and then eventually grow. So this is by Harvey S. Firestone. So now let me move into the discussion of holistic leader. Here is a long definition. So let me just quickly read it and then we'll explain. We have two definitions. The first one is the long one. What is holistic leadership? Holistic leadership is defined as a being able to lead from the mind, the heart, and the soul. B, to apply a methodology that encompasses a developmental system approach in order to impact oneself as a leader, others as a follower, and the environment. And C, lastly, the process should reflect a journey that leads towards transformation at individual, team, and organizational community level. So the whole point of holistic leadership is actually looking at the entire perspective and making sure the total process is working. So the process has to work how? It is by uh, lead, it is by being able to lead by your own mind, your heart, and your soul. So it's an integration of heart, mind, and soul in dealing with your leadership traits, in getting your leadership traits out. So you're integrating your heart, your soul, and your mind. And also to have a methodology and a systemic approach that allows the leader and others and the environment to work in a systemic approach. That's the other part of holistic leadership. And lastly, it has to lead towards the transformation of the individual, the team, and the organization. So, in other words, you're looking at a 360-degree angle in this process. You're looking at 360-degree change that you want to integrate, you want to ensure, you want to bring to the organization. So, in short, uh, it's the mind, body, and soul integration where you are applying a methodology of development and a systemic approach to impact your own self as a leader, others as followers, and the environment. That means getting everyone into the swing of things and getting the perspective of all into your discussion. and then moving forward. And then the last one is the journey that leads you to transform yourself from being an individual with reasonable traits to being somebody of higher calling, and then also having the impact in the team level and the organizational level. So that was the longer definition. So let me move into a very shorter definition, which would be easier to understand. So the short definition, it is the incorporation, integration, expansion, and communication of new and old mental models. So the idea of mental model comes in, and what is a mental model? It's the makeup of who we are and how we think of things around us. So it's a lot of things connected. It's our knowledge, it's our culture, it's our viewpoint, it's the way we have been oriented in life. These are parts of your mental model. So mental models are perspectives that are imbued within you, are ingrained within you as you grow into an adult. So what is holistic leadership? It is the incorporation, and it is the integration, and then expansion and communication of these old and new mental models. So you're looking at basically a journey of your life where you have come through a process where you have adapted a certain culture, where you have taken certain course in life, and you have absorbed certain information and knowledge from the environment, and these are all integrated and all being brought into the process of your leadership, and then you're expanding your horizon of leadership, and then you're also conveying and communicating your thought processes and your views, your constructs in your mind. When you're adding all of that together, then it blends into something of a new form of leadership, which we are calling holistic leadership, meaning in totality, a leadership that builds everything and brings a lot of dimensions together. So that is holistic leadership. It's a very difficult notion, and yet it's a simple idea. A difficult notion in the sense that it attracts a lot of different traits of human beings. It attracts a lot of different dimensions and knowledge areas of the person. It also brings in the cultural issues. It brings in your religiosity. It brings in your ethnic community perspective, your economic conditioning in society, etc. Overall, your total worldview comes into your holistic leadership. A person with a holistic leadership who has come through the ranks of, let's say, a very affluent environment versus somebody who has come through a less affluent environment will have two sets of holistic leadership. It doesn't mean that one set is better and the other set is bad. All I'm trying to say is that it will have a different flavor. He and the other person will may have, in terms of knowledge, they may have similarity in knowledge, but their perspective, their understanding, their level of their way of thinking would might be slightly different based on their perspective in life. So this is important as a leader to understand that we, every one of us, has a different worldview and different makeup and different mental models. So when you're judging others, when you're working with a team, you have to look at it from that dimension. If you're looking at it from your vision, your only your tunnel vision, then you may not do justice to the team. You may not do justice to the individual. So the world view has to be captured and incorporated, integrated, and expanded with proper communication, and that's how you will be leading in society. That's how you will be growing the leaders in society. So very important in condition, a very important situation that a holistic leader must have. So let me move to the next slide. uh, Sorry, I think I jumped through a number of slides. Just give me a second, I'm coming. All right, okay, sorry. um, So the heading says actions for change. Why did I introduce this heading? Because a holistic leader is actually working to change things. The leader's job is to improve things. The leader is not a stagnant position. Leadership is not a stagnant position. As we had mentioned in my previous slides, that leadership is not a position, but it's a process. It's a series of activities through which your leadership takes place, your growth as a human being, your growth within the organization takes place. So here we're talking about actions for change that a holistic leader actually takes. So here's this lady, Judith Gordon, talks about the 4 steps to systematic approach and prescribed actions for change under the perspective of holistic leadership. So the first one, these are common sensical thoughts, but since it's a theory, I have just brought it out. I'll just touch upon it. So the first is, when you try to be a leader, you have to take the description, meaning you have to collect a lot of data from the market, from the people with whom you will be working. So collecting data becomes an integral input for the leadership process, and creating the systemic approach to the transformation or change within the organization. Then the issue of diagnosis comes in. You're analyzing, identifying key factors that are going to impact the environment. So once you are analyzing and identifying key factors, you're narrowing it down to the set of areas that in which you would like to work upon, because you may not be able to work on too many dimensions. You don't have the time, nor the resources, or the energy, or maybe the knowledge base. So you have to analyze and identify the key factors affecting the environment in which you are trying to effect the change. And then you have to come up with the prescription model. You're just like a physician, you'll be prescribing certain solutions, and then looking at the problems, the solutions would be there in order to improve certain things. So the prescription is also an important part. And then all the prescriptions and the diagnosis, if you don't put them into action, meaning if you don't get them to operate, then it will not work. So you have to go for action, and you have to implement and evaluate these solutions in the market, in the environment in which you're working, in the engagement dynamics in which you were transforming an organization, because you're interested in action for change. A holistic leader, since he or she has to have a overall global perspective of things that are taking place. So a systemic approach can be designed in order to get things to move in the right direction. Because if you're trying to attack certain things and without having a priority set up, without looking at the potential solutions, you will be groping in the dark. You will be moving from pillar to post, but you will not probably get the right understanding of the situation. And if you don't get the right understanding of the situation, it will be very hard for you to formulate the solution for the agenda that you want to achieve. So this is a process that one can follow in order to get from to improve certain things within an organization. So moving to the next slide. So we talked about holistic leadership from a definitional point of view. Let's look at the traits of a leader. Just like any great leader, if you're looking at transformational leader or situational leader, etc., any leader in a democratic process, you have to have certain quality that actually builds you to be different from others. And because leaders have to have certain traits which are different from others, otherwise why would people follow you? That's the whole point. So first and foremost, you have to have a broad perspective. The broader the view, the better you will lead, because you are not narrowed or tunnel visioned into one domain, one aspect. So the broader perspective will give you a, or you know, like a bird's eye view, and that will enable you to actually look at things from a different angle. As I mentioned, the issues of mental models will be very important in understanding the broader view perspective. Then you must be strong-willed with a strong vision. I didn't use the word willed, but perhaps the issue of having a strong will to succeed with a proper vision has to be there. In other words, you should be in a position to almost see the future. A good leader has to have a reasonable ability to see the future. Sometimes that may be a little deficient, but then you have to work with team members who can actually see the future, and you can get their energy to work for you as a team and then lead the organization into the future. So having a proper vision and being able to all understand what is taking place in terms of the industry, in terms of the economy, in terms of the knowledge areas. So your visioning would be a reasonable, strong point for a holistic leader. Then the issue of emotional intelligence. We will have futures presentations of emotional intelligence, but here we're just talking about in a very small nutshell. It's the intelligence of having the common sense to understand what is needed in order for you to move from point A to point B. So, looking at things and quickly understanding that these attributes are to be looked at, these are the priority areas, and then we need to move in that this direction. So, very in a very short way, we are talking about emotional intelligence you must have. So, it's the commonsensical perspective of leadership that you must have. Then, obviously, you cannot lead unless you can discuss things with people, unless you understand the mindset of the people. So you have to have very good listening skills. Listening skills are vital in order to lead. If you are always talking and not letting others to bring ideas to the table, then you're actually only working with your set of narrow vision. Maybe it may not be narrow, but you're just designing things based on your vision and your perspective only. But when you are allowing others to come in and others to bring their input onto the table, then the new dimension takes place. Maybe the journey can be more synergistic, more productive, because certain angles that you may have skipped can be brought into the table, and it can actually the spirit can be rekindled, and then you get a better output. So good listening skills coupled with good uh, learning skills, listening and learning. So you have to be a good listener, and at the same time you will be a quick learner. If you listen to people and it goes through one ear and it leaves through the other ear, then you're not actually doing any good to the environment. You're actually wasting time for yourself and the person who is or who are giving you the input. So you have to be a quick learner as to why this person is saying what and what value or what impact this new idea is going to bring about to the environment. So you have to be also doing self-reflective ideas. In other words, you also have to take ideas from the people, reflect on it, maybe then and there. Normally, it has to take a maybe you go home, you think about the things that have taken place today, and then you come back the next day and re-articulate certain things, maybe in a slightly different way, and move in the direction of the new engagement. So how did that happen? By bringing a new perspective, by listening to others and learning from others. So that's very important. So here the trio of good listening, good learning, and good self reflection would actually give you a better trait as a holistic leader. And then the other one is inquiry skills. This is also important because sometimes if you don't ask the right questions, if you don't dig in the right domain with the right set of issues at the back of your mind that you want an answer to, you will not be getting the right output. You will not be getting the true result that you should be seeking, because in our personal lives we have made mistakes, and if you go back into hindsight and if you ask a certain question, and you will see that maybe you had the right answers even then, but you didn't ask the right questions. So here, as a holistic leader, if you want to transform yourself, you have to start asking the right questions also. So the inquiry skills is dependent on asking the right questions. So you must have that skill as a leader. And then to package it all, to package it all as a proper leadership domain, you have to have motivation. If you can't be motivating people with words, with patting on the shoulder, with proper direction, with a set of knowledge that they can easily understand and transform, and effective communication, you will not be able to get things to move in the right earnest. You will not get engage the spirit of the people, because it's so important. If you want to transform an organization, one person or two-person cannot transform the organization, especially large organization. You have to get the energies all working to move that giant ball. And that giant ball, you can consider it as the organization. So major thrust has to take place. So that doesn't happen by one person. So being an effective communicator and effectively motivating people becomes the true essence of a good leader. And that is why a holistic leader must have this motivation and leadership skills. So if you just quickly come back, all these skills are not readily available in everybody's life. People are not broad at times. People don't have the vision. People don't have emotional intelligence. Sometimes they don't listen. Sometimes they don't quickly learn, and they don't inquire the right set of questions, and they don't motivate people or communicate properly. So if you want to be a good holistic leader, you have to bring these domains together, all of these in some level which you have right now. You should start thinking, and you should start thinking at the back of your mind that which are the areas that I really need to work upon. Pick one or two from here and move to the next level, then come back and then pick one or two more and then move to the next level. It's not really a linear transition, I can say to you, but if you start looking at it from all of them at the same time, that you might get perplexed. So that's why I'm just making it a little easier. You can pick one or two of the areas and then proceed further. That will be a little bit better for you to transform yourself from being a decent leader to being a holistic leader. And the holistic leaders are actually the leaders which transforms the society. Moving to the next slide. We just talked about emotional intelligence. So here's the definition of emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? It's also known as emotional quotient or EQ. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your emotions in a positive way to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenge, and diffuse conflict. It's a whole lot of things, though. But if I want to break it down into manageable pieces of understanding, it's basically common sense that you can apply in life to understand and use and manage your own emotions. If you're a good manager, if you're a good leader, you must have a set of understanding of things around you and how to operate based on things that are flowing in front of you. Uh, Issues are changing, complexities are rising, uh, things that you had planned are not coming out the way you're seeing it on the ground. So you have to be able to manage these changes. You have to absorb certain emotions. Maybe you're a little perplexed, maybe you're a little frustrated, but if you are showing your frustration, if you're showing that you're puzzled, perplexed, then people will not line up with you, people will not resonate with you. So you must have the capacity to quickly absorb, understand, and manage your own emotions in the positive light. And the stress is relieved that way. And at the same time, you're being vocal, you're being able to communicate what is the things that you are wanting, things that you are perhaps looking at it differently, but it didn't come out that way you had planned. So you are trying to take your people back to the way you are planning. Maybe that could be one way, or maybe you're okay to change your course slightly to get to a slightly different set of results that you did not anticipate, but using your emotional intelligence and your common sense, you're accepting the new additions or new changes that are taking place. And at the same time, the idea of empathy. Empathy is the notion of putting yourself in other person's shoes and try to understand their views from their perspective. In other words, if you're sitting across someone and you're wearing your shoes and someone else is wearing his or her shoes, but they're not being comfortable, but you can't feel it. But if you are truly wearing their shoe in their particular perspective, in other words, the ways in which they are looking at this thing, then the the problems that are there would be apparent. You don't see it from the outside. So you have to be able to quickly empathize. That's the whole idea of empathy. And you have to be able to empathize with the situation in order to build a proper emotional intelligence. So empathy, understanding empathy is important for your emotional intelligence to work properly. And then you can overcome the challenge that is out there, that is obstructing the growth of what you're doing. And sometimes, if it's an issue of conflict, maybe it's not an issue of product development, it's not an issue of marketing, but it's the issue of internal disharmony, internal conflict. So you have to be able to diffuse it. So emotional intelligence is an important trait also for the uh, leader to become a holistic leader, because every time a good leader is challenged by a set of new obstacles, a set of new issues which he or she did not plan out. So, if you have good emotional intelligence, then it is easier for you to navigate out of the murky waters. So, that's important. So the point here is to empathize other people's situation. Once you get a feel for their views, using your common sense, your commonsensical perspective, you can design the strategy to overcome. And also, if it's a conflicting issue, you can slowly diffuse the situation to move towards safer shores. Moving to the next slide. So, where does a holistic leader thrive? This is an important question. Uh, in other words, if you are filling in a position for a manager, let's say, we're not just talking about the CEO, maybe a senior level manager or mid level manager, as an employer, for example, or a senior team leader wanting somebody else to take certain areas of responsibility. So, you're hiring someone. What type of leadership traits you should have in the position in which you're hiring, that becomes an important question for all. So as a leader, you cannot have one fine answer. What I'm trying to address through this slide is that you have to understand the position in which you are bringing the people in. So once that position is properly understood, then the leadership traits can be decided as to what particular traits you want. Somebody who is very good in number crunching may not be very good in handling complex, turbulent human interactions, may not be very good. Or someone who is extremely well in understanding the dynamics of human integration and human interaction, and given a very complicated situation, that person can actually navigate out of the problem and create something good for the environment and calm things down. They may not have very good analytical skills in the sense mathematical analytical skills. So these can be there in one person, but oftentimes one is low, one takes precedence than the others. So you have to decide on what type of environment you are bringing in this person. So understanding the environment for the position in which you're trying to fill is very important as a leader. It again goes back to the understanding of the 360-degree holistic perspective. So a holistic leader probably works very well in an inclement business climate. That means the environment is complicated, a lot of transformations are taking place. Maybe it's a business that is transitioning from its old self to a new particular perspective. That is an environment in which a leader can be brought in, this type of leader, or a business that is growing very quickly, whereas a lot of things have to be articulated, a lot of issues are not properly discussed upon, and things are going a little haywire. So you need operating procedures, you need to set standards, you need to vision the, or you need to create a new vision for the organization, or maybe there is a little disconnect between the vision and the way things are moving. You need to bring people together, so you have to engage a lot of spirit and energy. So those type of environment you might want a holistic leader. Same goes with a risky environment. Things are not working properly. Things are going astray, and it is hurting the business, or hurting the team, or hurting the environment in terms of economic failure, in terms of mental failure. So this is risky environment. So somebody with a 360-degree perspective, understanding with good emotional intelligence and thriving knowledge base, in the sense that he or she has decent knowledge on multiple aspects of the business, that person would be uh, welcome. So that is a risky environment that this person can actually do better. So that's a trait. That's the environment in which the holistic leader can be brought in. Then industry where things are changing quickly, ICT sector, IT sector are always changing. So a holistic leader may have a strong vision, and that having a stronger vision or capacity to quickly learn and grow, you can bring that person into that person. Then somewhere where the leadership is in disarray, not working properly. Disarray means not, things are not going proper. Confusion is taking place. So in that type of environment, we have to have proper leadership. Excuse me for 1 second. So leadership in disarray can take things south. So you want somebody with a proper leadership structure. Then comes the need for trust building and championing the new direction. If you build a new structure, and if you don't have a leader which can actually uh, bring everybody together, then you are not going to have a good leadership position. People will be flustered, people will be confused. So you have to champion the new direction. In those type of environments, a holistic leader can thrive. And the last point is building the momentum, building the proper momentum, and being empathetic as a learner. If you don't build the proper momentum in this environment, then you will be developing a disjointed organization, and disjointed organization can create a difficulty level in this perspective. So um, I want to uh, I want to ensure that I want to ensure that the the people around you has to be a learning in a learning condition. So this momentum is to be ensured at all levels. So I believe if you want to thrive as a leader, you must have all these perspectives. You must have all these perspectives. So I'm really sorry. Somebody was disturbing me from the back. Anyway, so thriving environment for holistic leaders are essential tools for a holistic leader. So what I want to come back with clarity is that a good leader under different circumstances acts differently. We know that for real. But a holistic leader must have that total capacity to drive the organization and its energy forward with a lot of uh, different understanding and different views in his or her overall mental makeup and mental model sphere, what should I say, in the mental sphere that this person can actually engage in. So Thriving environment for a holistic leader, we just covered. So moving to the next slide. So, what does a holistic leader do in terms of transforming the organization? A holistic leader transforms through paying attention to the soul. We talked about the soul, the heart integration previously. So, the holistic leader actually pays a lot of attention to the soul, uh, his or her own soul, what his soul is wanting, the true inner feelings of your soul, and also connecting it with the overall people and the souls, the collective souls of the people with whom he or she is interacting. So it's a lot of intuitive uh, understanding between you and the people in who you are going to be leading. Then the holistic leader is approaching everything through effective communication. Without effective communication, things will not properly work. So that's an important trait for a holistic leader. Then comes the 360-degree overview. 360-degree overview is something that which is considering all aspects of management, all aspects of the understanding of a certain situation, and all aspects of transforming from point A to point B. So it will be bringing in management, it will be bringing in knowledge, it will be bringing in issues of interactivity, it will be bringing in issues of uh, overall connectivity issues between different stakeholders, the whole 9 yard. This is very important for the holistic leadership. So with this 360-degree transformation, the holistic leader actually builds the fabric of the new organization. Then shared vision we talked about. Through shared vision, the holistic leader actually transformed the organization. The idea of the vision, the strong vision by a leader is important, but in a shared vision, you're bringing everybody to the table. Everybody is giving his or her viewpoint and collectively redesigning the vision. And then what the vision is shared appropriately amongst all. So once you have the shared vision in place, things will transform quicker. And that will allow you to create the high performance team. Without proper performance, your efficiency level will not go up. So the holistic leader is going to drive and transform the organization, building the momentum through being able to share their vision or his or her vision, and engaging the people to have a high performance in the work activities that they are doing, and that will transform the organization. Any organization which is more efficient in terms of its people process will actually be doing better in terms of overall output as an organization. And then the transformation will take place through effective learning. Effective learning is absolutely essential. If you don't learn as an organization, then you will not move to the next level. We will have slides and presentation in the future on what comprises a proper learning organization. So without going into detail on learning organization, I just want to emphasize the point that learning has to take place on a regular basis in order for a transformation to happen. So the transformation takes place through the multiple channels, the multiple angles. But if I were to consider a very dominant component here, I would be picking understanding your soul and understanding the soul of the people with whom you're working. So once you have a very strong association, cognitive understanding of what the soul is wanting, then you can actually design the 360-degree angle. Then you can create the vision because you are truly understanding what they're thinking. And then you can move to becoming the high performing team because you are transforming the organization. And this process is a continuous process of learning and development. So coming to the end of my presentation, normally I have a question. So today's $1 million question is, can you be a holistic leader by only working in one industry? Can you be a holistic leader in working in only one industry? the answer to me is difficult, but I would say that it would be very difficult to be a holistic leader just working in one industry. It's it's from a commonsensical perspective that I present my case. I think if you have a understanding of different environment, different industry segments in your life's process, life cycle, maybe you're working for 10 years. If you are working in one industry, you will be a subject matter expertise in that industry. We can say that with confidence. But if you had come through maybe one or two industry which are different, and you brought in their managerial understanding, their knowledge base in that industry, it might add a slightly different value to your global understanding, your holistic understanding of the situations at hand. So I would argue in the direction of being a better leader by having multiple exposure. I'm not saying you have to have 7 or 10 different exposure in a lifespan of 10, 15 years. I'm not suggesting that, but what I'm saying that if you have certain level of exposure beyond one or two industry segment, that understanding would be helpful. And also I would say that when you are exposed to different industry, you actually interact with different mindset people. You interact with different people with different knowledge sets. Maybe you, for example, you were in the airlines industry, then you move into the petroleum industry, and then you open your own business in the, let's say, in the e-commerce sector. They are different industries altogether, I understand, but there are commonalities in terms of leadership traits that you can pick from this industry, or you can think of certain obstacles that actually made you a better manager in one particular industry, and that you can actually bring that knowledge, bring that understanding in this new industry of e-commerce sector that you are actually building upon. So it's very important. So a good leader has to be able to juggle with different balls. So if you consider these different industry and the knowledge bases as different balls, having different understanding may actually give you a slightly stronger positioning as a holistic leader. So, with that, I would like to conclude my presentation for today's session. Thank you very much for listening in, and I also welcome the people who have joined us. And now I'm opening the floor for discussion. We would like to learn from you, and we would like to get your perspective on this topic that we covered today. So, thank you very much, and back to you, Edward Probir Mondal. So I'm going back to the top of my slide.
All right. So we have two questions from the audience. And then we also do have a participants or a resource person here with us. Another person just left. I was expecting, and he also entered, and he is not no longer with us. So what I'll do is let me briefly discuss few things in a few minutes, and then I'm gonna invite us those questions, and then I will ask Anika to participate. So this so can you just stop your screen sharing? I'm gonna add my screen sharing now.
Done.
Okay. Right. So we're very happy today that we have discussed holistic leadership, and Advocate Gio Rahman has very well actually shared with us what is holistic leadership. So sorry, I'm just still waiting from the screen sharing, and then I'm gonna briefly share with you. Okay, so before, okay, all right. Sorry. Okay. All right. So we discussed a couple of things today. He discussed a couple of quotes. We'll discuss what is holistic leadership, and we discussed what why do action for change. We discussed traits of a holistic leaders. We discussed about the emotional intelligence and thriving environment for holistic leaders. We also discussed holistic leader transforms through. Okay, I can't see that.
Paying attention to
Yeah,
soul.
paying attention to soul and everything. Okay, and the $1 million question is: can you be a holistic leader only by only on in one industry all of your life? So this is just a question that already Advocate Gio Rahman already shared with us. I'd like to share with you few slides just added, and then I'm gonna invite those questions. So leaders need to create a safe space to foster collaborative inquiry, creativity, and innovation. And then there's the four principal components of holistic leadership, that is teaching, directing, participating, and nurturing. So this is actually what you call from academic purpose perspective, but also a holistic purpose, like why we do like teaching, directing, participating, and nurturing. Now there is questions that is very important for us to understand. Think about some great leaders you have worked for or seen in action. What appears to be the strongest principle in how they led others? Then, what principles do you want to guide you in exercising your leadership? And what aspect of yourself will you start to change based on these principles? Ask yourself at the end of each day, what actions did I take or not take that showed my commitment to these principles? What I do, what will I do differently tomorrow? I think this is very important because whatever we learn academically, we need to understand what we can do for ourselves, because this anything that change starts within first ourselves. So these are the reflections that we need to ask. These are reflective questions that we need to ask and need to understand. Then right, the changes are actually coming within you. Once changes is coming within you, people will see the changes, and that's what right, what I can see. This is actually also a four principal components of enabling elements, that's called directing, and then teaching, we can see participating, and nurturing. I won't go into that details because of time, but just to share with you, these are the four principles components enabling elements. And these are the actually there are 10 points that actually shows for the leader: create a nurture learning environment, constantly walk the talk, dare to care, develop effective meter, realize the organizational cultural change is not check the box exercise, link training and learning to job performance when it's needed, be honest when you ask for feedback, focus on result, share the leadership. As a leader, you are the change agent. So that's the end, right? Say you are the change agent. So with that, right, I would like to conclude it, right, with my presentations. Now I'm going to ask. I have two questions from the audience. Let me ask Advocate Jiaur Rahman. There is one person actually is, if I'm not mistaken, is from NATO or something. The name is written NATO. So how can we grow personality? And
So
the next question, then you can answer it because it's related. What is the difference between personality and leadership? So we are not discussing personality today, but there is a question on leadership. So these two questions actually we got from the chat box. Uh, so this is the question. If you kindly answer,
okay.
because we want to encourage our
Um,
audience. Uh,
the first question is was what is the difference between leadership and personality? Was the second question. What was the
Now the
first
first
question?
question is how you grow personality, and the
Okay,
next
how do
question
we
is
grow
right.
personality? Okay, thank you very much for asking that question. It's a difficult answer, I would say. The way I would think of growing personality is through the process of learning. The orientation and the understanding of things around you are tools for you to pick up for your own personal learning. Things that you read, things that you associate with, the cultural adaptation, the orientations in which you actually grow up would be very helpful for extending your personal personality. Uh, the point that I'm trying to make is that, for example, if you grow up in a rural community, let's say you grew up in rural community in Bangladesh, certain things would be slightly different in your thought process versus somebody who grew up in the concrete jungle of an urban environment or an urban metropolis. They will have slightly different viewpoints on certain things. You will be more open to nature. Perhaps you will try to get your understanding from the nature, and that's how your personality will be evolved. Whereas somebody who grew up in the urban concrete jungle will have a different type of personality based on the associativeness of the uh, environment in which he or she grew up. So growing up of the growth of personality depends on the environment in which you are associated with. However, with the knowledge, with the understanding of the people around you, if you can extend yourself beyond your domain, then you could actually slowly evolve your personality. The more, if you see that people who move out from their homes in the sense at an earlier age and goes into another district to work or goes into university, they become more self-independent. Why? Because the personality has to be shaped in that perspective. So this is important point. I would like to say that growing your personality is based on the reflections of your culture and the environment in which you're growing and the associations that you bring around you and the knowledge that you gain from your academics and from the environment. That actually helps you to grow your personality. And the next question was the difference between leadership and personality. I think personality is a component of leadership. Personality, having a good personality means somebody will have good traits of a good leader. So if I say he is a person having good personality, I would tend to think that he is a person with integrity. He or she is a person with values, with some action, good in terms of maybe discussing things, in terms of communication, etc. Somebody who values other people. That's part of personality. But when you talk about leadership, it's personality plus more, plus more. And what are the more? The leader will have very strong vision forward. The person with good personality may not have a very strong vision. They might be very good in terms of social persons, being able to just do well in terms of other association around other people. A nice person, you can say, but that person may not be a leader. But a good leader will have to have a good personality as well. So personality is a set of attributes of a good human being, and leadership is a set of attributes of good human being plus drive, plus strong will, plus strong vision, plus a nurture and a guide for the team to move to the next level. So leadership is beyond personality. So there is a slight difference between the two. But leadership sits on a proper personality. If you have a proper personality, then your leadership will actually be growing faster. So with that,
All right,
I
thank you very much. Because of time, I would like to ask Anika, what is your observation? You have been with us. Thank you very much for your time, and you have an experience as an academic also. You you have an also working experience. So can you share with us what is? Do you have any questions or any opinion in regards to leadership?
Yeah, thank you to give me the floor. I actually was listening to the whole lecture, and I have this one question. That is, what will be the different approaches, or what will be the difference between providing leadership in an organization that is for profit and in an organization that is not for profit. For example, the whole discussion was actually on business leadership. It has nothing to do with a political leadership, if I have observed correctly. But then again, the organizations that are more social oriented, that has a vision of human development or social progress, they are quite different in nature from the organizations that are for profit, that are that are doing business only to increase revenue. What will be the difference between providing leadership in a for profit organization from providing leadership in a not for profit organization?
Okay, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, before going to that, I just need to have a small observation about, in regards to this question. And then I will ask Advocate Jiaur Rahman to participate or just an answer. I had brief working experience for not-profit organizations, and currently I'm also a board member, founding board member in Alberta, one of those large not-profit organizations, where I'm actually uh, dealing with the governance issues, the governance, and then uh, all these issues. So social enterprise model is different. The first thing that you need to understand, the expectation. The expectations are different. So in terms of the regulatory perspective, or in terms of that within the stakeholders expectation is different, regulatory expectations are different. And then in terms of the governance, internal management, like management, there's expectations are different. So when you say a social enterprise versus for-profit organizations, this is totally different perspective. So and according to that, I believe, one thing is important here. There are general features or general characteristics that we can follow for a holistic leaderships. But when you so delivery, right, how you actually approach, then is different. Like when you have been like a general standard, like as a leaders is might be same, but the delivery approach and how do you deal with clients, how do you deal with the stakeholders, how do you comply when you talking about regulatory compliance, how do you do with that, right? Means in terms of the CSR, corporate social responsibility, or social compliance and everything, how do you deal with that? So I think there is more accountability here than this than the corporate leadership. So accountability is very important here, I guess. And then there might be in other issues. I'm not an experienced person in terms of social enterprise, but I will ask Advocate Jiaur Rahman to participate and ask maybe his opinion. He's a business leader. I'm not sure whether he has social enterprise experiences. So I probably this is not a forum. I don't know, but I will ask Advocate Jiaur Rahman to share his opinion.
Thank you very much. It's a great question by Anika. Thank you for asking this question. Advocate Edward Probi Mondal threw in a lot of new ideas even before I could answer the question. So now I am a little confused as to where to start, but I'm going to start with the simple point that leadership is needed in both enterprises. If you're looking at a business enterprise, if you're looking at a social or political enterprise, a standard level of leadership is needed in all three engagement areas. We cannot say that in one area you will have to have more leadership and in the other area you may not have to have leadership. No, first and foremost, I want to clarify that you will have to have leadership traits in every area at a very strong level. Now we could ask the question is what type of traits you would be needing in what type of organization. So business organizations would need a slightly different set of traits vis-a-vis a social or political organization. So if I were to jump in the sense that what does a business enterprise need? The business enterprise will definitely need leadership in terms of swaying the people's views with a particular vision and then sticking and bringing everybody on board to follow through that vision. That will be very important for a business leader, and the knowledge base or ability to collect the information in the quickest possible timeline to produce the right outcome. That would be very important because time to market is very important for a business leader in terms of the product or in terms of the services that they're producing for the market. So that's very important. Um, the time competency and very quickly be able to understand the changing landscape. That is very important. For a social enterprise, it might be slightly different. From a social enterprise, the leader has to have very strong knowledge of the community in which he or she is leading and understand the pulse of the community. So, having very strong cognitive association with your ultimate stakeholders for whom you're offering service would be very strong, must be very strongly ingrained in that leadership. So in both cases, business or social, you will need strong association with your stakeholders community. But in this social community space, you would be investing more time in understanding the social cause and the social issues and the social conditions on which you will be designing your policy, on which you will be framing your outcome as a leader. So it's slightly more on the social integration perspective. When you talk about political leadership, your biggest asset is your ability to convince people and drive them passionately in order to understand your views. So what the vision that you have to be absolutely be able to mesmerize them with your effective communication, your superior capacity to bring people under your guidance. So they will be almost following you like a cult like uh, mindset. So you will be the top leader, and people will follow you and tremendously support you in everything that you do. Just to give you an additional perspective, I am in politics in Bangladesh, and therefore I my particular job is to make people understand what is it that we want as a nation and as a leader. So we approach our people passionately in driving forward for better democracy in Bangladesh. So these are the three engagement dynamics where a leader will have common traits, there will be common issues, common dimensions that all leaders must have. But in the three different buckets, some of it, the the let's say the input level of the traits would be slightly different, but in all three buckets, be it in business, be it in social enterprises, be it in politics, you will need a very strong influencing factor. But in social leadership, you will be dealing with your team members at the final level, slightly more in depth. Whereas in the political leadership, you will be also doing that, but your delivery and your mechanism would be different. So I think with that, I have been hopefully able to give a slight viewpoint as to the difference between the three and the leadership that is needed between the three. So thank you very much,
Right.
Edward, for
Advocate
remarks.
Jayaraman, thank you very much. Anika, I will ask you a question too. But before doing that, I think is balancing is very important here. How do you balance it? So what I understand, like I am not an expert on that field, but what I believe is how do you balance it? Like if you're even as a business entrepreneur or business leader's perspective, how do you balance it? And then even with that social enterprise executive directors or not profit, right, the head of the not profit organizations, I guess balancing is very important. Now there are visible, like as advocate Gio Roman mentioned, other type of leadership like political, there is a visible things that we people can see, but there is also invisible that the work as a business leaders are doing for longer period of, like, for long term, perspective, even the social enterprise are doing. So what are those? Well, my question is, how do you balance that one, right? Sometimes, you might not able to see that impact right away, that what they're doing, the social enterprise, the leaders, and even with the business leaders, you might not able to see. But most importantly is the core, the basic, the leadership traits has to be there. And then, right, how do you, right, how do you how do you deal, or what means, what should be your approach to, to your community, as advocate Jerome rightly mentioned, it is actually understanding the community, the needs, and in depth, right, the collaboration to build an inclusive society. So, like in social enterprise perspective, there is actually more into that uh, perspective. But here in the business leadership, I guess there is a tremendous pressure, immense pressures to do. There's a time, there is a time factor is there, right? So we are challenged by those. So how do you balance that one? So it is very challenging. And how do you do well? Whether you take the decisions, you have to take the decisions, whether right or wrong. You have to take the decisions on time. So I guess this is challenging. And with that, I think, yeah, we still need to explore this one. This is actually a pressing questions, and I don't think so that we provide you an answer, but we provide you an maybe different perspectives that we can work on. We can continue doing that for our learning, and also educating ourselves, and then we can also help our communities and our businesses. Yeah, do you have any observations, Anika? Do you have any observation? Yeah,
Observation.
right, means what you have heard actually from us, right? Right.
Yeah, observation. So basically, when it comes to a leadership, I have always observed that uh, it is not about honestly speaking, it was there is this idea, the traditional view on leadership, that's about there are these types of leadership, parenting or like charismatic leadership, or there was this very traditional view on leadership. But what I realized when it comes to practically providing leadership is that there is no such division. It's like it depends on the situation, and every person is actually unique. So integrating them into a group doesn't necessarily requires understanding what they want or what they feel, but making them feel what the leader feels. So it's actually about selling what the leader's vision is. It's not about accepting or making their ideas or visions uh, into something of a group understanding. It's more about selling a leader's view than about bringing people's opinion into one ground. Even in democratic leadership, um, it has nothing to do with actually. Although, of course, when it comes to democracy, the basic basis of democracy is to making sure that everyone is heard, but giving democratic leadership is not about giving everyone's idea space, but rather selling the leader's idea and making the leader's idea into everyone's idea. So it's more about selling one's view rather bringing everyone's view into the floor.
Right.
So that's actually practical. I
Right.
mean, in practice, leadership is. That's how I felt when when I was in the field. But when it comes to very academic view, it's more about reasoning. It's more about resonating with people's feelings and all. That's how it was always seemed or deemed or termed. But it's quite different when it comes to the practical field. So that was actually my observation in leadership, and I really appreciated everything I heard today about holistic leadership. That was a very nice take on the holistic leadership. And when it comes to political leadership, uh, I have, in my point of view, it is more about the charisma of the leader than about the vision of the leader, because human psychology is actually shaped in a way that people are attracted to more charismatic people, And it's not about the message, it's more about how the message is presented. That creates the difference between a successful political leader from an unsuccessful one. That's more about when it comes to the political field. And That was actually all about what I feel like on leadership. These are solely my opinion. It's not like it was just solely on how I realized it. There is obviously room for improvement. So yeah, that was all. Thank you.
Right.
Thank
If
you,
I understand
Anika. Can I?
correctly, if I understand correctly, Anika, so I think it is all about organizational culture, because organization cultures in social enterprise is different than organization culture of so developing an organization culture. We had actually previous presentations on organization culture. So how that organization culture, so it embedded everything that we you already spoke about, that how we can have an organization culture there. So when we do that, it doesn't, you don't have to connect it, you don't have to tell, it automatically comes, right? They automatically follow, they automatically do, they know the expectations, they work in a team. So when you develop that organization culture, it happens, right? That similar like a really, so that's very important to at least have a very good organizational culture where that expectations are set. And it is a continuing process, it is not like just have one, but it's a continuous improvement, as you have already rightly mentioned that there is always a scope for improvement. And we do appreciate your comments. Thank you very much, Advocate Gio Rahman. I think we're running out of time,
I
so
would like to
we just
just
need
add
to, yeah,
one
yes, go
quick
ahead.
perspective. I would like to add one quick perspective. Thank you very much, Anika, for pointing it out. I also agree that a political leadership is about selling your vision to the people. Of course, you get people's viewpoint in, but it's mostly you create the overall vision, the grand vision for the organization or the community in which you are pushing forward as a political leader. That's very important. But as a good political leader, you also have to bring views from the floor, views from the community, and adapt those issues in your in your political framing, and the things that you actually talk about into the in the community, things which are very important. Maybe you're thinking maybe less important at this point given the context of the community. So bringing their views at times is also very important, but mostly I agree with you that it's the vision of the leader that is shared with the people, and the charisma of the person who is being the leader is actually engaging everybody to become part of the political process and supporting that particular political party or the political person. That's very important. So that's something that I wanted to add in this presentation. So thank you very much, Edward.
Right. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to conclude this session, but and then I'll have some announcement. So thank you very much, Advocate Jia Rahman, and also we do appreciate Anika Satiprabha for your presence and your valuable observations, comments, and question. Um, as we know today, we are not having we are having a different setup today, so we are not having a our like what we used to do is for Bengali our Bangla presentations. We will not have it. We will be uploading from now onwards. It will be uploaded in our YouTube channel, our thing. So whatever the expert, the couple of minutes, will be summarizing that one, and you can find it. So we encourage our viewers to watch that. So there will be like kind of webinar type. You will be provided those resources, and in other languages like Bangla, we'll be starting couple of other languages will share with us, but for now we'll be sharing in Bangla, but you will be finding in our channel. um, just to let you know that our regular this weekly program is running every Wednesday, which is Edmonton, Alberta time at 9 p.m. That is the Mountain Standard Time, and Eastern Standard Time, which is Toronto or Ottawa in Canada, it is 11 p.m. And in Dhaka, Bangladesh, it is 10 a.m. in the morning, 10 to 11 a.m. in the morning. And in India, it is 9, I think it is 8:30 in the morning. 8:30 in the morning. So 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning in India. So every week we are having these sessions. So last week we actually asked our audience to answer a couple of questions. We haven't heard anything, but just to encourage that if you watch this session today, and then if you are going to our Facebook page and watch these sessions, there will be a questions will be there in our Facebook page. So if you can answer that one, I will be getting rewards anywhere in the world. We'll make sure you will get your prize or award will be then from next session onwards. Those who are participating will be getting our participation certificate. As you know that from next session onwards, these this particular program is actually a registered training institute in Alberta in Canada. So this will be you will be getting recognitions from that institute where you'll be getting certificate of participations, and in future probably you will be getting other courses from that institute. So we welcome to watch our channel through our Facebook page, to our YouTube channel. And thank you very much, and we are very happy that you are with us. And for any other languages, if you have any requests, for example Hindi, Bengalis, or any other language you request, we'll try to provide summary in our channel. So you, if you don't understand particular things, we'll do maybe a couple of minutes discussion on that on request. So we'll be providing that those informations. So we welcome for you to at least participate in the process so that we can learn, and together we learn, and it is a win-win process. So I guess with that, I'd like to thank everyone, and we welcome you to watch our next sessions, which will be held in next week. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, night for in Canada, and for Bangladesh is a good morning, and India is also a good morning. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you very
Stay
much.
safe
And thank you for
and
joining
stay
in.
blessed. Yes. Thank you.
Bye.